Hello and welcome back to the channel. I am Paul McLeod from Analogue Wonderland and I am here with Mr. Andrew Church from Kodak, or Kodak Alaris as the fancy people call him. So first of all, thank you for your patience as we have waited and processed the winners of the Kodak Gold competition. First of all, there are over 1,000 entries, and as you know by now, Andy refuses to even let me know which are his favourites until he's looked through each of them at least twice.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then there are also some personal things that just lost us a few weeks here and there. But we are here, we are excited to go through all of the winners of the Kodak Gold competition. I said, pick your 5 top favourites. Andy picked his 37 top favourites.
Narrowed it down, yeah.
We whittled it down to 20 that we're going to share with you a bit more detail on. Of that, there are sort of 2 runners-up who will get some prizes and then 1 grand prize winner who will get a full Kodak goodie bag. Before we get cracking, Andy, how are you doing?
Yeah, very well. Everything is good. Busy, which is good. Yeah, we have a few issues occasionally, but we're working through them. So no, all is grand. All is grand.
Perfect, that's wonderful. Yeah. So having you on here, start of November 2021, it would be remiss of me not to put you on the spot, so I will.
Yes.
Obviously the big news of the last couple of weeks is pricing on Kodak. Again, yay!
Yeah.
Third time in 2 or 3 years that we've seen this. Now we've obviously talked about it at great length. You've explained things to me. We sort of have plans going forward. But I suppose this is a bit of an opportunity for you to share a little bit of the thinking behind it, as much as you can. Obviously, I know you'll have things you can and won't be able to say necessarily, but I also know you've always been open as much as you can be with us. So what's sort of going on behind the scenes that would help us understand that?
Okay, so the story is inevitably complex and complicated, and there's multiple factors which affect the whole supply chain scenario. So we're a 2-company operation in terms of we have Eastman Kodak Company manufacturing the film, and we have the rights to sell and distribute the film. So we're beholden to them to produce the film, they're beholden to us to get it to market. So I'm sure it's no surprise to anybody that post-COVID it's been a very difficult year for any manufacturing company, especially a company that's manufacturing something as complex as photographic film. So photographic film requires chemicals and all sorts of materials that are sourced from all around the world. And again, no secret that everybody's having trouble distributing anything further than next door really at the moment. So trying to book a sea container or to book a slot on a sea container shipment, trying to procure chemicals from different suppliers, which really are scattered all around the world and come in from many different places. To get all those items and chemicals into one place to be able to manufacture a photographic film is very complex. And proving to be more expensive, particularly because of the increase in shipping costs, increase in energy, increase in gas, petrol, as we call it. So the whole world is getting back together. Everything's boomed. I think lots of container ships are mothballed, taken out of service. So there's lots more industries competing for the same spaces, and that's just had a real knock-on effect to the business. And then we've had real issues in terms of just supplying materials, basic materials, even just packaging materials. A prime example is what you can see here. So this is a standard roll of Portra 160, and it has a black end cap which is powder painted in black paint. So this end cap, and the same on the bottom side, is made from tin-free steel. And at the start of July this year, Eastman Kodak had a problem sourcing tin-free steel. So the main steel supplier in the US couldn't supply tin-free steel. We thought initially that would be for something like a 6-week period. And we really didn't have a fallback option. There's no real alternative.
And by the way, that is madness, like steel in America.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's like Newcastle and coal. Like Newcastle running out of coal, whatever the scenario is it's like Wimbledon running out of strawberries. So who knows? So it could happen, but it would happen very rarely. So there's no, you wouldn't necessarily need a backup plan for raw material like tin-free steel, which is readily available for always, forever and a day. So there was no alternative, which meant that it came very close, if not did happen, that the machine stopped running that produces 35mm film. Fortunately for us, Eastman Kodak managed to buy some standard looking steel that didn't need or couldn't be powder painted, so we've designed a sort of nostalgic looking 35mm canister.
The vintage canister.
The vintage looking canister that lots of people have really liked, and interestingly.
I think it looks
that look and
gorgeous.
feel. But I think it's probably also the direction you've travelled. So if we'd have had this one for hundreds of years or for tens of decades and come up with this one, everyone would go, wow, that looks great. So, but this one is what we're looking at now.
Yeah.
And so Eastman Kodak had to use a different type of steel, slightly thicker, slightly more rigid. And it's fine, it worked, but unfortunately these caps are produced in an end cap machine, and when the end cap machine was running, because the steel was slightly thicker, slightly more rigid, the machine broke down, and the repair process for repairing the machine was really dismantle the whole machine, put it back together and start using it again, not really knowing how long it was going to last before it broke down again, which inevitably did happen. And then also the underlying concern that how many times can you break a machine and repair it before it's broken permanently. So nervy times, stressful times, I'm very sure, and that really slowed down the yield from production, slowed down the amount of rolls that we could get into the system, which hasn't helped the supply situation. We've got other issues in terms of upscaling supply. So we used to make millions and millions of rolls of film a year. In fact, millions and millions of rolls of film a week. Now the volume is a fraction of 1% of what it was in its prime. And in 2012, when Eastman Kodak went into Chapter 11, which was bankruptcy protection, so all of those issues were fixed then, but part of the fix was to really downscale the whole production business to much smaller quantities, because then the general trend was everything was going in a downward direction. But what's good for all of us is that that general trend within 4 years reversed and started to climb. And now we need more capacity, which is a little bit beyond what our capabilities are. So we've had to have some investment. We've had a considerable amount of investment. We were short on acetate film base. That problem's now been fixed, but we now have a new bottleneck, which is related to our finishing production. And now we're working to improve, or Eastman Kodak are working to improve, or release the bottleneck, make it wider, get more capacity through. This tin-free steel issue, just finalising on that, just has lasted until the end of October. So it's been not a quick issue, it's been a long issue, and it's had a knock-on effect through the supply chain, which is ongoing because we're 2 months away in terms of travel when things work from Rochester, where the film is produced. So us in Europe, I'm referencing. So we're on a recovery path, but it's a long, slow path. And it's expensive and it's costly, it requires investment, and the general running costs are much higher now as well. So all of that rolled into one has meant that there's been the need to do a price increase, and that's just been passed really through our production line, from the production line in through us into the real world. But I think it's good to draw a parallel really in terms of, if you look at the average earnings of people, you look at inflation, you look at the price of film back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, then if you look proportionally against inflation, then film hasn't really changed in terms of its actual cost to an individual. So although it seems like another price increase, and it is in many ways, but the film pricing really is proportionate to where it was historically. We did have some years in the late 90s, early noughties, when I think that there was a scramble for volume and there was very little happening in terms of price increases. And now I think you've seen a normalisation as part of the need to liquidate or keep your business running and have enough money coming through the system to justify continuing to make film. But the real good news for me, and I think for everybody, is that we're still looking. Next week I'm working on a 5-year plan for our business. which is an annual cycle that we do. So everything we're looking at now is to carry on and continue manufacturing film in the future, keeping it as affordable as possible. My goal is to get a film as low price as possible in the market. You may say that's counterintuitive with actions that have happened recently, but that's still our goal. So we want to maintain our film to the market readily, make all our films available, enhance them where possible, keep them alive as chemicals become discontinued due to environmental reasons or sourcing issues, and all that needs working through, but we've got a solid plan in place to do that.
Thank you. It's lovely to hear you say that, because I think the things that when you see this, and I think this year felt a bit different to the last couple. Because in the last couple, I think everyone knew there are supply issues, and hopefully, people have made investments in order to fix that. I think what is very clear is that this last year has not been a year of bouncing back from going to everything happy. It's incredible that the steel story just blows my mind. It's amazing and a godsend that the workaround was found, even if it did break the machine twice. Thank God, because otherwise we'd have had no Kodak film for, it sounds like, multiple months. And also, I guess, every time you cross a border at the moment with anything, it is 4 times the price sometimes. And I'm seeing this across the board with every supplier is talking about this, and labour costs and petrol, and the world is just not as easy to traverse, and anything that comes from multiple places. I suppose the thing that I've definitely picked up though is people concerned that this is a sign of Kodak, milking film, shall we say, in the way that we've seen some other brands approach the market. What I'm hearing from you is that's very much not the case. This isn't a strategic profitability play. This is more expensive to make. We have to pass this on. And I think the point as well, Ludwig, I think, did a brilliant article with Silver Classics about the pricing that I think expounded on your point there about inflation more. I know it's not much comfort for folks who have started shooting film in the last 5 years that it's relatively cheaper than it was in the 80s or whatever. But I suppose it is true. I think when I see people react to price increases and say this is going to wreck film photography, no one's going to come into it. Yes, it's more expensive to shoot. That might put people off. But it's also reassuring to hear you say that it's not Kodak's goal to make things super expensive and niche.
Yeah.
You'd love to sell more volume at cheaper prices. It's just.
And we're working towards that. And that's the key thing. So we are where we are today, and we need to be where we are today. And we're here because of all the things that happened previously. And so we have our hand of cards, and we're going to play them in the best way possible to deliver our goals, which is as many people as possible shooting film at of course a reasonable price as well. So, I think no one would raise price without the real need, because we're acutely aware of what people may think when you raise price, and you don't want to do this lightly. So you do consider everything long and hard before you make any decision like this. And if it wasn't really necessary, you wouldn't really be doing it. But this does help invest in the future of film and maintain this business that we all know and love.
Got it. Well, we won't. I don't think we'll go any further on that than necessarily need to be. I don't want to have a totally negative conversation. I think it's an important one to have, because I think it is that concern at the moment where it looks like Fujifilm more and more are pulling away, especially on consumer colour. The idea that Kodak will be following that path is, I think, what drives a lot of the knee-jerk fear and reaction, and you're very reassuring on that point. Is there anything that you can tell us about? I suppose it's tough because of all these things. We've talked before about films that you brought, like Ektachrome, 35mm, then 120. We talked about other ideas and plans that you've had. I'm guessing they've all had to move back as, priorities like finding the right bloody metal happened. Are there still plans for new emulsions, new films? You don't have to. You can tell us the details. You don't have to, but at least giving confidence in that vision for what's coming new as well.
So I did drop a teaser in at the start of the year, and this won't be anything more than that. So
that's fine. That's fine. We can all speculate furiously and then be angry with you when you haven't lived up to our expectations.
So even today, I've had, could you bring back this, and a new one I hadn't heard for a long time. So that's quite good. So there's always a new request, a new sort of, and it's great that there is. So things can run in parallel, but things that we thought would probably happen this year haven't quite happened. So, but there's still work in progress, and so keep your eyes open, be ready to react if and when the time comes, and hopefully there's some good news coming through at some point.
Okay, so I've got my wish list. Yes. Gold 800. I don't even know that was a film once, but I'd love that.
You'd love that.
A cheap 800.
Yeah, okay.
Cheap colour 120 film. Like another transparent. Anyway, I'll go through it later.
Yeah.
Good.
Notice I'm not making notes.
No. I think you've gone for a little private nap while people say this. Yeah. But at least, again, I suppose the good news is, I do hear from you and from the wider company. I'm poking at this deliberately because I do know that there are innovation plans, and again, that's always the concern people have, that when they say, this is going to put pressure on film, if innovation dries up and price go up, that's tough. But if you have news coming that can address some of the other issues, then that's fine. Okay, is there anything else you wanted to chat about, or should we go straight into gold?
Let's go into the competition.
It was a while ago, so let's remind ourselves. So
let's do that. Yeah.
We talked in the summer about Kodak Gold and making a big fuss about a fantastic colour film, knowing that had been one of the things that had been out of supply for the last, across COVID year one, a lot of the cheaper colour films took a hit. So we had enough to make a bit of a fuss, and we also chose Gold because summer feels like a good film, family snapshots, hopefully a few people who could go on holiday, that kind of thing. We came up with the idea that it would be just like Spandau Ballet. You bought an entire golden suit.
Yeah.
I had gold mask, makeup, eyeshadow that sadly wore off before we got to film this. But the photos that then came back, were they all family snapshots or were they a variety?
Not at all. We had, you've seen them too, but we had a huge range of photos. And I think what was striking was that most of them were very bright in colour and very eye-catching, really, in general. And so, in fact, we had a black and white photo entry, which was quite novel. Seeing that, so, does make you wonder sometimes. But
was it converted, or was it like?
I did notice it wasn't shot on gold. So, anyway, some abstract is another category.
Exactly.
So
that's
maybe
fine.
that falls under the abstract.
That can go into just a general lucky dip.
Didn't make the top 20.
Good.
So, but no, a really good range of photos. Some gorgeous photos, lovely range of styles. I'm hoping we've captured lots of different types of styles in the top 20. So you'll see that hopefully as we work through them now or in a minute. And just really good standard of images again. So, and I guess when you're asking people to send their best images through, that it's almost inevitable that you get good quality images, but really good.
What I really enjoyed as well was sort of when they come in, you have this folder of over 1,000 images, the little thumbnails, and as you just scroll through, just the colour palette was so summery, so fun, so sunny, so gorgeous, which now we're in November, it feels very lovely to just immerse yourself in that a little bit. So let's get started. So what we'll do is we'll count sort of backwards from 20. It's not necessarily that 15 to 20 are in perfect order of quality, it's more just there's a bulk of 17 we'll go through that are well worth sharing with the community. I've also got on my screen the details that folks submitted about what they liked about the photo and why they shot it, so we can talk through that, and then we'll have the two winners and the one grand winner. So first up is NATALIE G with her photograph Say Cheese. So what do you like about this portrait?
A huge wedge of cheese, really. So what do I like? So this is probably, I think, the only portrait that made the top 20, and there were some other very good ones as well. But this one just captures a lovely moment. So there's an individual, which I know his name, but I don't. He just looks excited. He's just full of energy. You can see that comes across. But everything about the picture is really lovely in terms of the fresh tone is very smooth. Everything is a sort of very sort of mid-scale in terms of colour contrast and just overall contrast. And yeah, it's just bags of energy captured in one little photo, and it just speaks everything. And I'm sure if you know this child, then yeah, then you'll probably need a good rest after spending an hour with him. I don't know, but it's great. I love the energy of the photo.
So what Natalie's written is that she loves this photo because it's so clear, its tones and colours are beautiful, as you've spotted, and she says it captures my 6-year-old's personality and character very well. I did ask him to smile and say cheese nicely, and instead he thought doing so whilst highlighting his missing tooth was more appropriate. Quite right too. And the simplicity, I think, is really good. Like so many portraits, especially of kids in a snapshotty moment, you'll have messy things in the background, but the beautiful white from his t-shirt all the way through the wall, I think really helps stand out.
I think depth of field on the image is really good. So he's in sharp focus. Yeah. What's behind him is out of focus. And the fact it's a very sort of plain background and he's wearing a white t-shirt really helps as well. So it frames his face perfectly with his hand highlighting the missing tooth
and the new tooth coming in. So congratulations to Natalie's son for the new tooth, and congratulations to Natalie for the photo.
Let us know your son's name, Natalie.
Yes, exactly. He's now famous.
Yes.
Okay, and the next one is from Mark Dendy,
called
Ladybird for some reason.
And
I mean, the depth of field is amazing. What put this in the top 20 for you?
So, yeah, so the Ladybird's house hopefully is not on fire. She's staying put on the leaf, but I think everything about this photo, it's a wildlife photo. It's an insect. They don't stand still for long, and neither do leaves. And everything is in sharp focus in the foreground. The background is not in focus. So again, really good depth of field. The colours are extraordinary, and it's acutely sharp. So I don't think it could be captured any better, really.
No.
You can see what looks like little hairs on the foliage, and the ladybird. Yeah, it's dining out on a leaf.
Yeah,
it's really good.
And I thought if I mean that's clearly decent lens in order to capture that. I think it's quite interesting that if I was going out sort of doing something as technical as macro, I probably wouldn't necessarily pick up gold. I'd probably think of something a bit more, but the grain is beautiful, the colours are gorgeous. So what Mark said, what did you like most about this photo? The fact it came out. I have lots of photos like this.
With no ladybird.
Exactly, with or a blob. And also many times I've shot this on film thinking it would come out and it just didn't. So yeah, brilliant technical skill.
And is that the reflection of
the sky, the clouds, beautiful.
Perfect, yeah.
And Mark also said that it's the first time he shot gold at box speed rather than messing around pushing it. And he really likes the results. There we go, so you can add shooting gold at box speed to your toolkit.
Yes, we do give speed an ISO rating for a good reason.
No, it's guidance at best. Harry BABU, in the divine light. Oh, I love this photo. When you showed me this is just gorgeous.
Nicely named as well. So, yeah, what a great photo. So was this set up? We don't know, do we? We imagine that these people just were tracking through and the
Harry says that they were lucky to be at the right place at the right time.
Yeah. The mood is right, isn't it? It's got the right shadows, the right building, and the right people walking by together at the right time, and everything falls into place. And the way that the finger of light, the finger of the shadow that comes down and just lights them up at that particular moment. Which stretches the whole image up as well. So it drops them at the bottom, but it's the fact that it's the whole image, the way it's come together, and the really high contrast of the shadow as well is so good. So yeah, couldn't not include this one.
Oh, it's brilliant. And also the balance. I find the balance that's really interesting. The weight of the photo, because something so interesting right at the bottom would normally throw off a photo. You'd want to just basically crop it to just have that bit, but the windows on the left. And the fact that you've got the movement and then the light coming down, I wouldn't dare to touch this. This is a fantastic image. So regardless of how much you relied on Providence to give you the the setting, the timing, waiting for these two, where the clothes match the colour tones as well. There's nothing distracting.
Wearing sunglasses, everything about it.
Everything.
A mysterious look.
This is one of the best street photos I've seen all year. Fantastic. Wonderful. Okay, so Chaim Smith next in the clouds.
Could this be a fisheye photograph? We say.
Potentially, yes, a fisheye.
Very likely without reading the text yet. So yeah, it's a novelty. It's a round image. Everything's just formed together perfectly. It's a high-speed action image. There's very little, if any, blur on there at all. So it's a very quick exposure, and the colours are maintained. It's a great day. There's detail in the clouds. There's detail everywhere. Yeah, a great action photo.
And also, I've seen so much iPhone software that can try and replicate this look, and it always looks a bit weird. Whereas this is somebody with a camera, with Kodak Gold at the right, probably about to get hit in the face by the skateboard coming down, but you know, for the art. And what do they say then? So Chaim says that the timing of the photo was perfect for what they wanted. So you clearly pre-visualized it and then captured it, which is a fantastic skill. And their main advice for enjoying Kodak Gold: don't get caught up with the rules of photography. Rules. Get creative, get weird, and think outside the box. 100%.
Yep.
Please do. Okay, Jamie Howell. Another lomography camera, perhaps.
A sprocket rocket, perhaps.
Maybe, although there's not quite enough blur in the corners. That might actually be a high quality panogram. Who knows? We'll find out.
But yeah, so great. So I like the sprockets being in the image, and it's great to have the edge print in the image as well. And it's just a bright, colourful family image. Reminds me of many days walking through Forest Pass and things. Also, it's obviously been raining. There's lots of flare from the pavement in front of the people walking along, and that just kind of adds to the brightness, and yeah, and it just enhances the image. But the colours are lovely. It's green, but it's like a darkness to the image, but still elements of brightness too. So a really good image.
Perfect. So it is actually a GW690 that's loaded to create a deliberate 6x9 wide crop. The family was walking ahead, so I quickly focused the shot before they disappeared around the bend. It was one of those shots that came out exactly as you imagined it. So another pre-visualization of what you want to achieve, and then technically getting it. So well done. And
all three subjects are in the frame as well, so they're sort of layered, aren't they? So, yeah.
Oh, and by the way, their advice actually is quite useful. If you're shooting gold, either get a lab to scan it who you trust, or use Negative Lab Pro is their tip to get the authentic colours of gold. So there we go, bit of a software tip. Matt Ellis, Feeling Blue. Subtly blue, not overwhelmingly.
So why did I like this one? Just the high level of detail and the softness of the colours, which is exactly as described by the photographer. Yeah, it's so perfectly sharp, very complex, almost contemporary in its sort of style, but clearly a very old ceiling image from a railway station.
Which railway station?
I don't know.
No.
I've tried to find out, tried to visualise it, tried to find it, but I can't find it. So it could be any one of many, I'm sure.
It reminds me of York, but
yes, yeah.
But if Matt could let us know, that would put us out of our misery.
Again, we'd love the extra detail, wouldn't we? The colours, the sharpness, and it's all very mid-tone, but enhanced by that, I think.
No, absolutely stunning, and really lovely choice as well of the crop to have just the roof and the structures. Okay, next photo, NASIR HAMID, who I had the pleasure of meeting over the summer. Went for a lovely photo walk with NASIR and a few other folks, messing about with water. So what do you like here?
Pure personality.
Yes.
So it's exactly what it is. It just doesn't, you know, how much fun can you have in a garden with some water, and clearly everything's in full throw, so to speak. So I'm guessing this is NASIR's daughter. It must be. So but just the look on her face, that particular moment captured in time, which you know will just. They will be able to go back to this photo in 20 years' time, maybe on a wedding day in the future, who knows, and still see the memories that will be triggered, and the fun that's clearly evident on a summer's day is just lovely. And probably a traditional use of gold film, a very much consumer image in the back garden perhaps, but just good colours, but mostly the individual and energy of the child.
Yeah. So Naz says, yep, love my daughter's expression. It reminds him of a summer heat wave and my kids just trying to stay cool in our back garden. I think you're right, because also that's clearly shot in shadow, in the canopy, the shade. There's bright sun outside, and then it looks like some sun in the right, but they haven't lost any of the detail. You're right, I think this, if I was going to say what is the most Kodak Gold photo we've seen so far, I think this might be one of them, but tons of personality, lovely composition, wonderful shot now. Rob Holding.
By contrast.
Ah, exactly.
So we have a sort of, a pier to a castle or a tower, I guess.
Well, before the sun disappeared at Lake Vyrnwy. 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 So apologies for the mangling. But yeah, a gorgeous lake with structure sticking out into it.
Yeah, so really nicely framed. The sun setting, giving you additional sort of softness to the colours, giving you some warmth in there. Very high contrast with the shadows. So just a pleasing image, and framed perfectly with the trees, the lake, and the reflection from the lake. Just really good. Beautiful.
And what they loved about the photo, the contrast of the shadow on the water tower. There we go, water tower. The first time that they'd shot film in challenging light conditions, but the image has real depth to it, and I think it would look fabulous on the wall. I totally agree. Getting a printer, that will allow you to keep the tones throughout.
Yeah, I'd have an enlargement of that one any day.
There we go. You've heard it here first. LENA.
Oh
my gosh, I love this photo.
Yeah.
I love this photo.
So, this photo is a double exposure, and hats off because it's perfectly matched the first exposure to the second exposure. So someone's clearly photographed what looks like, I guess, their dog, and a leaf with perhaps a hole in it, and created this quite strange looking image, which mildly freaks me out. So
I did say to Andy, why is this not better up? And he said, it's because it spooks me a little bit if I look at it too much.
It's just, there's that certain weirdness to it, which I also equally love.
Yeah.
So, and it's the colour of the leaf, and I think the sort of the white fur coming down the nose of the dog, and then the fact that the second eye is there but partially hidden, just gives it a striking, weird looking sort of effect.
It's like the dog's wearing like makeup, like elaborate makeup.
Yeah.
With eyeshadow disappearing or a mask or something. I mean, also the first time I saw this smacks of somebody who does double exposures scientifically. Mark on the film, line it up perfectly, plan things in advance. But actually, what Lena said is the overlapping of the analog double exposure made me very happy. They match perfectly. Whenever I do double exposures, I shoot the entire roll twice without any notes. So results like these are treasures. I've shot lots of doubles in my time, but again, I have never, ever had anything that lined up so brilliantly and complemented each other so well. I think this is absolutely stunning. Lucky
or otherwise, perfect. Black Mirror, eat your heart out.
Oh,
so, yeah. It's
absolutely.
Lena, well done. Yeah, hats off. Really
absolutely
good.
Fantastic. And they say that Kodak Gold is solid, reliable, brilliant for when you want to do experiments such as this. Oh, incredible. I would love that as postcards.
Yes, yeah. A lot of freaked out postmen.
I don't think it's as freaky as that. There's clearly something in your childhood that we need to explore about dogs and...
Dogs fighting back from the other side of the post box. Those poor postmen. Both sides
maybe
now and again.
Gives them nightmares.
Yeah, who knows.
Next one, Lionel PATTERSON. Standing strong.
Okay, what's it about this one? So, this is potentially a really bland photo, but it's completely not. There's just a huge amount of detail in it. It's classic seaside photography. Your seaweed pebbles, the water break, a little bit of grey sky. Typical Britain, really, isn't it?
Classic.
Classic, but it's the sharpness, and it's a lot of mid-toner colours, but the colours are very crystal clear. and slightly elements of contrast in the colours, but a very sort of smooth palette, but just perfect in terms of the way the image is formed and scaled, and just really nice, really pleasing, and very seasidey.
Yeah, when I first saw this, I immediately assumed it was Ektar, because I think the clarity of the colours and the fine grey. Interestingly, actually, when we look at it, so Lionel says that it was actually shot at 400 ISO, so it's gold push to stop. They suspect that ISO 100 would have been better, especially with the strong lighting, so it could even have got even clearer if they'd shot it at box or at 100. But no, definitely very simple composition, but that doesn't mean simplistic. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful life. Okay, we now have 2 in a row from Mario Piper.
Oh, okay, do we? Wow.
Exactly. So Andy always judges things without any of the details, names.
So I never know who the photographer is, just do it purely on the photograph. And so, yeah, we have had occasions when I've picked too many of the same photographer.
Yes, Chris Rowden was a firm favourite of yours until recently, falling out of...
Steve Mayer, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Time. So, yeah. And now we have... What?
2 by Mario Piper.
Well done, Mario. Super Mario. So, this one was really because just the colours. So it's soft. It's soft in focus, really. And the colours are very soft, which is not really what we expect from gold. Gold is quite... it's got quite good colour saturation, it's quite high in colour saturation, but that's what consumers love, so that's why it was built that way. But these colours are soft and pastel-y and just very warming and very pleasing to look at. And I know that you can push process gold, maybe that was done in this case, to soften the colours.
Well, I've just actually looked at what they did, and incredibly, it is actually expired gold,
okay.
Which is collected.
Yeah,
so actually, it's pulled. So shot at ISO 50.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, actually, maybe not pulled. Maybe it's then developed to 200. But it's shot at ISO 50, but it is heavily expired. So yeah, you can, with any base emulsion, things can happen to it.
So it's slightly underexposed, and then perhaps processed slightly more heavily. And I did wonder if it was an older photo because the colours are sort of softer, and that explains it perfectly. But the result is pleasing, and colours are great. Love the softness, love the colour palette, really good.
Well, in which case the name of the image, the past in the present, works really well then. So clearly, Mario was referring a little bit to the fact that that's an expired film, but also, as you say, that looks like a picture from the past in the present. So a wonderful matching of subject and aesthetic to the film choice. Okay then, so Mario, the next one, Sherman.
Not a tank, Sherman, but maybe, we know.
Well.
So, yeah, what do you like about this photo? What do I like about this photo? So, it's, perfectly sharp in the foreground, great depth of field, very short because the background is very, very blurred, and the cat's face feels just the right amount of the whole frame, really. So, liking the sharpness, liking the detail, and you can see into the eyes of the cat and just get a little bit of its look and its, Would you trust that cat? I don't know.
No, definitely not.
No. So, but
I'd definitely go for a drink with it.
Yes, yeah. Maybe we share half a fish each.
Down at the local, yeah.
Bag of chips. I'll have the chips. You have the fish.
Yeah, the detail's incredible, and the focal depth brilliantly chosen. The lighting exceptional. Yeah. Just a really strong. Again, that doesn't look like gold to me. It looks really fine detailed.
Yeah.
But it goes to show the quality, I guess, in the right light.
And we do. It's probably no surprise. There's quite a few dog and cat entries, and I try not to fill it with dogs and cats, but it's nice to have one in there. So
when this quality is this good, 100%.
Yeah. And there was a near runner as well, which I think will get an airing. Perhaps
really?
Later. Yeah.
There we go. So thank you so much, Super Mario. Joshua Jones next.
Oh yes, Joshua Jones. So so Joshua, very good. Love it. Love the framing. Clearly, you had the pier to yourself at the end of the pier. Very, very sort of basic image in many ways, but just the way the lines of the boards work, the framing of the railing, the fact that the sea stops at where the handrail is and totally closes the sea off from the sky. So just forms really well together, I think. Just a great image. Love the softness of the palette again, so nothing really high contrast in there, there's a bit of contrast in the boards. But again, it's another one that would look good on the wall, really good.
And even though it's not super sunny, it's definitely summer. I think that the clarity of the lights, the beautiful soft tones. This is a photo that I wish I had the attention to detail to be able to take, but I just know I'd get there and I'd be one board left or right, or the horizon wouldn't be quite level and it would ruin it. Whereas this, the attention to detail to get every element perfect mirror is wonderful.
And also quite rare for, everything is symmetrical. There isn't a lamp missing. Everything's just fallen into place, and that is, whether it's cropped or not, it doesn't matter. But it is presented perfectly. So yeah, and
really well done.
The evenness of the clouds, everything just comes together really. A little bit of texture in there, but yeah, very good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Joshua.
I just noticed we're in the top 10, aren't we? So
Into the top 10, yeah.
We are on number 7 now. So
and Stephen with Autumn Leaves Wig.
Yeah. So Stephen, or I guess Stephen's son, is how much fun can you have in autumn time? So so I guess this must have been a photo they had already. So it wasn't taken for the competition. Who knows? But maybe, I don't know. So but yeah, just I love the framing. I love just the happiness in the image. Yeah, just really good. Great composition. Love the soft colours. The face is in the shade, but it's still evident in the photo. So yeah.
And just to show the variation in expired film, this was a very, quote, very expired film that had been left in a drawer. So all the rules about how to keep expired film in good nick, cool, dry, dark, as we know, totally ignored. Yet these colours look much truer than the purple flowers. But yes, this is expired film. He's very happy with the fact that enjoys the fun and joy of his son playing with the autumn leaves. So yes, must have been from last year or past year. Very, very happy with how well the colours turned out. And the best advice about shooting with gold, it's a film stock that hardly fails. Just shoot it and be happy.
Yeah, perfect.
Wonderful life advice. Stuart Pringle up next.
Okay, so a double exposure, and really nicely formed double exposure. So a lady, and then flowers, white summer flowers in a nice sort of very soft colour, but really well framed. Really like it. Yeah, next to perfect, really. Yeah.
Well, her name is Beth.
Beth,
I'm told.
Beth, yeah.
And no, I love the fact as well that the you almost have the double exposure. So you have the silhouette clearly of Beth, and then the flowers almost form a portrait. So the different green in the top looks like the hair, and then the face to the left. We were a little distracted by the dying rose at sort of armpit level, I think we said. But that's the joy of analog experimentation, is that you don't get to choose everything, especially when that's something like this.
And I think the branches in the foliage that kind of form the bone structure, or the replacement bone structure or something, gives it some sort of, it works really well. As you say, the darker foliage around the hairline and things, it's just a pretty image.
Yeah, and one of the things that's interesting as well, in regards of shooting with gold, Stuart was very impressed with the results he got, considering that actually he'd been using a light meter that turned out to be faulty. So was expecting everything to be hugely underexposed, which probably was, but gold is good enough to be able to recover the detail of the colours. So fantastic.
Helps with the softness.
Very fortuitous. Yeah. Jake Turner-Chan.
What a great image. What do I like about this image? I just love the dog. The fact that the dog is inquisitively looking and paying attention to the photographer as it's having its photograph taken. But it's the body language of the dog, and the way it's impressively its chest out, looking out the window, this is my window, and who are you, and what's going on. But the framing, the colours, the fact that it's taken into the shade, and it's held everything up, and it reminds me of Scooby-Doo.
There's a bit of a story to it as well, like in that you can see there's the wall there, so you definitely get the sense of the dog being like, get off my land, or keeping an eye out for people passing by. I mean, we've seen many photos like this where it's humans hanging out a window in I think it's Spain here, in Spain. Whereas this is a wonderful twist on a classic street photo, and from a quality point of view, again, you can see it's in the shadows. The sun's coming up away, so you're shooting into the shade. Yet you've got all the detail there. You've got the richness, which could easily have disappeared. So really lovely shot.
Yeah, I think the shutters are singing Spain to me now as well.
Yeah.
What's Spanish for shaggy?
Well, that's Marita in a minute.
Marita, yeah.
She'll love that kind of question. We're just trying to get the machine working. Ola, and a photo titled Freedom.
Love the colours, love the framing, love the presence of mind to look up while walking under a tree and being rewarded with the colour palette that they've got here. The fact that the film captured the sort of purpley, bluey, pinky reds and things that have all merged into almost magenta, bluey magenta sort of colour, and the contrast between the shaded areas of the tree and the areas where there's quite bright sunlight, but everything's kept its focus, kept the sharpness, and it's well framed as well. So when you imagine looking up and leaning back and keeping steady and everything else, it's worked out really well.
Yeah, and it's really impressive to get the brightness of the blue coming through, yet the really clear structure of all the really dark branches without just losing stuff to murky shadow, I think is really, really beautiful. And they said they love the texture, and that their best advice with Kodak Gold is to enjoy every single shot. So a lot of comments about Gold is around fun and enjoyment and just relaxing, which I think, again, I don't know whether that's because it was around the summer holidays time, or whether that's just what people associate with a film that is. I mean, actually, I'm just looking now. The sample shot on there is clearly someone enjoying. Exactly, yeah. So there we are. Okay, we're now moving into your top three. So the first winner is Claudia with Mirror in the Sky.
Well done, Claudia.
Congratulations, Claudia. You are one of the winners. Andy, what did you like here?
So, thank you, Claudia. What did I like here? So, must be a glass roof, and Claudia's popped out of a hatch or something, we don't know, but captured the skyline. So we've got a great sort of contrasty skyline, so everything in the foreground is in shadow, everything behind is the brightly lit skyline, and then there's a second wave of skyline underneath from the reflection of the glass in the roof, we're thinking, or skylight window perhaps, and it just, yeah, it looks great. It's created an awesome image, really, so really nice colours. As the sun's falling, there's less light around, and yet what's there is sharp and in focus, so yeah, really good.
Yeah. Claudia says, loved the colours, thought that was amazing, the infinity sky, loves the silhouette of the Victorian terrace chimney stacks. Apparently for some reason that week they were taking lots of photos of reflections, getting in the reflection mood, and this was a total chancer of a snap, in their words, but I think it's very well composed. So it might have been a taking a lucky moment and going for it, but with enough skill of composition and colours that absolutely nailed it. Okay, and we have a returning person. So NASIR has popped their head up once more from Oxford with this photo, The Long Walk Home.
Yeah, well done, NASIR. You clearly stayed out on a probably cold sort of end of day type photo. So what do we like about this? There's two people in the photo, they're walking into the mist, and it's done just so effectively as the sun sets, bringing all the warmth colours from the final sort of sun elements of the day, and there's still a bit of blue in the sky, but as the sun goes behind the trees, it's just lovely to see and gives a really good image.
Yeah, stunning.
Yeah.
It's just gorgeous, and as you say, to catch the detail in the sky and the mist, with an emulsion that isn't particularly pro. And I think that's the one thing that I've struggled before. Often the sky can be a bit featureless because capturing that level of subtlety, but the time of day, the choice, the cloud cover, it's really, really lovely done. So well done, Naz. Wonderful, gorgeous photos.
Fantastic.
So
I think also the trees and the fact that they're not overly sharp, but there's still a lot of detail there as well. So it's that whole balance really. It's not just a high contrast, it's that's somewhere in between. So.
Yeah. And Naz also says that one of the things that he really liked was how well defined the two figures are and how they add scale to this whole photo that makes it just feel a lot bigger than I think it would have been without, which is very fair. I think that they make it. Okay, and time for the grand winner, and you will never guess it.
Yeah.
You have found a new Chris Rowden. Super Mario Piper is back for the third time. But you are also the grand winner, Mario. Huge congratulations. See, this isn't fake. He genuinely is just given 1,000 images and sent away for a month.
Special prize Super Mario.
Super Mario, exactly, as is now known by Kodak. There's a nickname and a pride. Reflections. And before we talk about what you like, let me just give Mario the voice in saying, why did you like this photo? The warmth and the grain and the creaminess of how it turned out. Andy, what do you think?
Yeah, so we have had a similar image to this before. Putting that aside, this one is very unique in its own way. And it's the level of mystique you get, and we now know how Mario took this photo, because we believe it's a reflection into a stream or some water, and then the image is rotated 180 degrees and it gives a completely different look and feel to it. You get the feeling of being under the water, looking up through ice, and that in itself is great, but then everything else in terms of the colours, the sharpness, and yeah, the way that the image channels to the middle, so you've got trees on either side channeling into the middle at the bottom, which would have been the top, is just done really well. So well done, Mario.
It is interesting because in the winter competition, yeah, we had it was the sidewalk, wasn't it, with the black and white silhouette
on a
of
zebra crossing.
That was it. Very different, same sort of techniques. Maybe we found the answer to winning Andy's competitions. But no, I think the difference here is the execution and the atmosphere it gives, more than simply the composition, the colours, just the feeling of this photo is very, very different. So huge congratulations to Mario. You are the grand prize winner. We'll be in touch shortly with a couple of questions, shipping address, and what are your favourite films, and a little goodie bag will make its way to you, similar to the two winners as well, Claudia and NASIR. Thank you so much. There are so many brilliant photos. I think what we'll do is Emma and I will probably pick some of our own favourites as well to share on Instagram maybe. Andy, thank you once more for going through 1,100 and something was I think the final number.
Yeah, the pleasure was mine.
Yeah, and you do say that, and I know you do really, really enjoy it, and every photo does get your eye at least twice, and in these 37, way more than that. I drafted in family members. You turned up with compositions to compare, and a lot of care goes into choosing the ones that you enjoy. But it all comes from you guys and the community. So thank you so much for getting involved. We are sorry it's taken us a bit longer than planned to get you the results. I know a lot of you have been waiting to just see what was submitted and who's won. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've agreed with the images. And that's it from us. I think we'll be back. Yeah. We'll be back with another one, as you would like in the new year sometime. But thanks so much for coming on, Andy. Thank you for being grilled a bit as well on the commercial plans, which I know are not what you personally may wish, but as you say, make most sense for Kodak now, and the future is hopefully a much brighter and easier place for all of us.
Yes, yeah. A great competition, pure gold.
Pure gold. There we go. We've got it in there. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you again soon.
Take care. Bye for now.